Hello and welcome to Work Made Easy. Thank you for joining. Today we're going to record a macro. Let's say you have a report to complete every Friday and you see raw data that looks like this. And every week you have to make changes to it to prep it for a larger audience. Today I'm going to show you how you can automate this process and repeat it every time it's needed with the click of a button. So let's get started. Today we'll be using a sample file downloaded from Microsoft that was slightly modified for this demonstration. In the previous video, we went over what a macro is. If you're not familiar with what that is, please feel free to check out what is a macro in Excel. The link is posted below. The first thing you want to do is enable the Developer tab if you haven't already. For assistance on how to do this, please check out our Enable Developer tab video. That link is also posted below. In the Developer ribbon, click Record Macro. A box will appear in the middle of the screen. First thing we want to do is give our macro a name. The name can contain upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and an underscore. If you decide to add a number to your macro name, it cannot be the first character. Finally, no spaces. So let's call this Friday's weekly report. Next, we have short keys. Keyboard short keys are keys or combination of keys that provide an alternate way of doing something that you would typically do with a mouse. For example, pressing Ctrl P will prompt a print screen preview. It is important when selecting a key that you pick something that is not currently being used by your system. Here's a list of a few existing short keys that use the Control button. You can also press the Shift key and a letter to create more options. For today's demo, I will not be adding a short key. Excel gives 3 options for storing a macro. Macro saved in a personal macro workbook will be accessible on any Excel file on your computer. For the second option, New Workbook, Excel will create a new workbook for this macro. Finally, selecting the This Workbook option will record the macro in a workbook that you're currently in. Since this may be something you do frequently or run frequently, let's store this macro in a personal macro workbook. Finally, the description. This is optional, but it's good to have. If you ever need to go into VBA at a later time and locate this particular macro, the few words that you enter here could help you easily identify it. Text entered here will be commented out in VBA, and if you ever need to make modifications to these comments, add or remove, you can do it later in VBA. Now we can click OK. As soon as recording begins, you will be given the option to stop recording. One at the bottom of the screen and the other at the top. Few things to keep in mind when you're recording. During this time, all keystrokes and clicks are recorded regardless of the workbook. If you go to another workbook or open another one, that action will be recorded. Avoid unnecessary actions. In larger projects, unnecessary actions can impact functionality. Your initial setup during the recording will be expected when playing your macro, so try to be as dynamic as possible. It's okay to break up your recordings. You can always combine them later. Please don't be afraid to make a mistake or change your mind. During the recording, if you would like to undo an action, select Ctrl Z at any point and the action will be removed from the recording. Finally, take your time. VBA is not tracking how long it takes for you to complete the recording. Okay, there are a few columns I need to get rid of for my report. Those are columns N, O, P, D, K, and I. I'm going to right click to delete those. Okay, next I want to go ahead and change the way the currency is represented. So I'm going to select those columns E, F, G, H, and I. Go to Home and add a $sign. I don't like how the data is represented, so I'm going to go ahead and make a few changes to that now. Okay, next I want to actually sort the data. So I'm going to start off by sorting it by date. Then segment, country, and profit. Okay, now I notice that there are a few negatives under the profits and I want those to be highlighted. So we're going to do a little conditional formatting here. Okay, we're going to change this value to 0. I don't like that red, so I'm going to change that color for the fill to light orange. Click OK, and then click OK once more. Great, now that that's sorted out, I want to add borders to each cell. So I'm going to do a Control Shift to the right, and Control Shift down, and select all borders. And I'm also going to change the font. And I want my header to stick out, so we're going to make modifications to that as well. Make that a 13, perfect. And change that color. That looks a bit too dark, so we're going to make it a little lighter. Okay, that looks good. Make that bold. I noticed that some of the data is actually cut off, so we're going to go ahead and auto fit that. For now, these are all the changes we're going to make to our macro. So we're going to stop the recording at this point. So we're going to go back to developer and select stop recording. Okay, so we do want to test our work at this point. So we're going to delete everything from sheet 1. And we have a copy of the raw data in sheet 2. So we're going to just copy it from that sheet and paste it back into sheet 1. Now we're going to go into macros. And we'll find that our macro that we created earlier is listed. So we're going to click run. Looks good, and we didn't get any error messages. Now I want to add a chart to this. So we're going to go to macro. We're going to give our macro name. Weekly chart. We're going to leave the short key blank, and we're going to keep this in our personal macro workbook, and let's give it a quick description. In my chart, I'm interested in the top 20 profitable items. So we're going to go to data. We're going to filter. And for numbers filter, we're going to click top 10. We're going to change that 10 to a 20. And then click OK. Next, we're going to insert a pivot chart. So as you can see, my range is already selected for me, and we want this in a worksheet. I'm going to select the items I'm interested in seeing and profit. Next, we're going to just move country over to legend to make it look a certain way. Close this out, and let's add a title. At this top, profitable products by country. Now I'm going to go back to sheet 1 because when my macro stops running, I want it to go back to sheet 1. So let's go developer and let's stop. Great. Now it looks like I have everything I need, so we're gonna just reset the sheet and run it again. So for this, let's get rid of this content. I'm gonna hit Control-Shift-L to remove the filter. Control-A, Control-A. And then let's delete this. And we still have our raw data in sheet 2. So we're just copying this over, put a Control-C and Control-V to paste it here. And let's delete sheet 3 altogether. Now that we've reset everything, let's run it again. So we can go to macros, select the first part of our macro. Beautiful. And let's select the second part of our macro to run. And for this part, I actually expect this to fail, and I'll explain why in a few seconds. Okay, it failed. So we're gonna debug this. Failed is because it's actually looking for sheet 3. But here you'll see that sheet 4 was created. So this goes back to the point I was making earlier in the video when I mentioned that it is important to be dynamic. So in order to resolve this, what we're gonna do is actually just add one small line of code to make this a bit more dynamic. So we're going to say the active sheet dot name equal, let's just name it chart for now. And what we're going to do is copy, and do a Control Find. Sheet 3, oops, sheet 3, replacing it with chart. You replace all. Perfect. And let's stop this macro from running. Let's close out of it, and then we're going to run it again. But first, let's reset our data. Beautiful. And we're going to go back to macros and run the first one again. Now let's go to worksheet. Okay, great. So it's successful. So as you can see, it did create a chart item for us. Next, what I want us to do is actually run them together at the same time. So to do that, let's combine our macros. And actually, since we're here, I do want to add one more thing. So I would like the new sheet to be created after sheet 1 for the charts. So we're going to say sheet 1. Okay, let's scroll up, and we're going to add a few more lines of code to combine them. So first we need to create a sub, and we can call this Friday Complete Report. Put parentheses to create the sub and hit a space. And in order for us to run them together or on the same sub, what we need to do is just combine them. So we're just going to copy the sub name, paste it here, and let's collect the weekly chart one, It's best if you just do a copy and paste because you want to make sure you're not spelling anything incorrectly. And I also like message boxes to tell me when the job is completed. So we'll just add Friday's report is complete or is done. Set parentheses. And one more thing that's really important is saving our work. So here we can say active workbook dot save as. Let's give the workbook a name. We can call it Friday complete report, and you can title it anything you want, and you can't forget the extension .xlsx and parentheses. So right now what we've just done is we created a new sub so we can run everything together. The first one is the first part of the report, and this is this chart portion of the report. Once both of these are completed, then a message box is going to pop up and tell me Friday report is done. And then it's going to save this inside this existing folder as Friday complete report.xlsx. And we're going to save our work. And the reason it's always important to save where we're saving it because this is not personal folder. And now I want to reset everything, make sure that everything's going to run successfully. So let's delete this. And we can also get rid of this sheet, we don't need it. And let's reset our data here, sheet 1. And let's go home. Then we just copy this, paste it over here, hopefully one last time. Now in our macros, we'll notice that complete report is here. So there's an option now, if you want to actually add a short key, it'll run everything together for you. And before we run it, let's add a button. So we're going to go to Customize Quick Access Toolbar. From this column, we're going to select Macros, and we see all 3 macros that are associated with our workbook. I'm going to select the Friday Complete Report. Next, I'm going to click Modify. And I'm going to select the smiley face, and we're going to change the display name here. In a few seconds, I'm going to show you how this renders on your Excel workbook. And let's name that Thank God It's Friday. We're done here. I'm going to click OK there. Now we see the smiling face available in a quick access toolbar, and you'll also see this as Thank God It's Friday. So basically the way this is set up is that in any Excel workbook you're in within your computer, because it's saved in your personal folder, this icon will be visible. So now we just need to test our work one last time to make sure that everything is good to go. Okay, great. Now we see the pop-up Friday report is done. And then you'll also notice that the title hasn't been updated yet. So once I click OK, we're going to see that change. And there it is, Friday Complete Report. Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like.